Hello and welcome to the Fulhamish quick take after Fulham's 4-1 defeat to Wolves at Craven Cottage. Hello, Liz.
Hi, Sammy.
Oh, I love the quick take, but I don't love the quick take in these kind of circumstances. Hello to all the Wolves fans inevitably watching. I can't imagine many Fulham fans will bother tuning in to this because I think this is a game that I want to poof out my memory.
Yeah, Wolves fans, you guys deserved it.
Yeah,
I guess. Don't you feel like the Wolves players wanted it more?
Yes, I think clearly they had the better game plan, and I honestly think today, Liz, we were outdone by probably just one player, Matheus Cunha, who was the best player on the park.
He's so good. Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing when he's playing your team. I loved it when he scored a hat trick at the Bridge against Chelsea, and I hate it today. Yeah, he was really good. He scored twice, right?
Yeah,
both banging goals. What can you do?
Yeah, assisted another as well. He really just it was unplayable. I mean, it was a weird one though, because half an hour in, and I'm just thinking, like, could this be going any more swimmingly? Wolves clearly were struggling. I think they only had one fit centre back on the pitch. Fulham scored a lovely goal through Alex Iwobi. Should have been 2-0 up as well. Raul Jimenez missed a massive opportunity, hit the bar. But I think just all signs in this game pointed to a pretty comfortable, routine Fulham win at that point. I'm pretty stunned as to what's gone wrong.
Are you stunned, or have you supported this team for 32 years? Let's be honest. Yeah, we were so much better up until their first goal, and it looked really straightforward. And the guys next to me, we were chatting a bit, and there was one point where Wolves massively overhit a pass that went out of play, and we were like, oh, they're in the relegation zone for a reason, although I'm not sure they are now after this result. And then, well, they score a very lovely pass from Mario Lemina across the top, and they score it, and that is the moment the game changes.
It really did flip after that, didn't it? I mean, yeah, as you say, it's just one of those goals, isn't it, where you're just like, it's an outrageous pass.
It's an amazing pass.
It's a lovely touch and a great feat from Cunha, and I think we all had quite a good view of it in the Hammersmith end. Yeah. Can Anderson do a little bit better there? It does just kind of like float over his head. I was trying to wonder if maybe it gets a bit caught in the wind, and then I've watched it on the replay and I'm just like, no, maybe you should have just been a bit better positioned.
Yeah, I mean, it is an amazing pass, and that's none of this is to take away from that. But I feel like both our defenders were a bit slow in that moment. It's a reason that Cunha was able to get there first, and he is an amazing player. But it's also that we didn't go for it in the right way.
Yeah, and just after that, it felt like the writing was on the wall. End of the first half, I think Wolves were the better team. We were struggling to really create too much, and then beginning of the second half, just never showed up, did we, for the second half? Once again, Cunha with the assist for Wolves' kind of turning around goal, the second goal of the game. I look back at that one, and it's not great defending. I'm not 100% sure if there's any real pinpoint blame. I mean, it's on Tete's side, but I feel like the key things that we just did not deal with Cunha. You give a player like him 20 yards from goal, bit of time and space to pick out a pass, and you're gonna get punished. And I guess, is that on the midfield maybe for not picking him up?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole team in that moment didn't cover themselves in glory. I can't necessarily pinpoint one player, but the fact that we weren't able to close that chance down, we should have. It shouldn't have been a goal. We shouldn't have let that happen, and yet we just didn't know how to deal with Cunha. And this is what I mean when I say I think Wolves deserve to win, even though I don't think they were actually necessarily technically better across the game, across the pitch, especially in the first half. From that point onwards, and well, from the time they scored their first goal, really, they just wanted it more. They were much more tenacious than us. They were going for everything in a way we weren't. And coming away, I can't say that I feel like really, really hard done by. Obviously, the result is bad. We lost by a margin of 3 goals. And I do feel hard done by that it's that much. But they did deserve, with that attitude to win that game.
This episode of Fulhamish is brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN is a way of watching sporting matches from all around the world just by changing the location on your tablet, your laptop, or your phone. For instance, you can use NordVPN to watch football matches for a fraction of the cost, including those 3 p.m. fixtures that aren't available here in the UK. Plus, you can use NordVPN on up to 10 devices. So, for instance, if my dad goes on holiday to Spain, he can log in using my account, and then he can watch Match of the Day to catch up on those Fulham highlights. Only when Fulham win, of course. Right now, you can get a great deal by signing up for NordVPN at nordvpn.com/Fulhamish. Not only will you get a great rate, but you'll get 4 months extra as well. Plus, it's completely risk-free thanks to NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. So to get that great rate plus 4 extra months, go to nordvpn.com/Fulhamish. That's nordvpn.com/Fulhamish. I think the thing that really killed Fulham's is the substitutions. I feel like we are a swinging pendulum of praising Marco for his subs and then criticising Marco for his subs. I guess there's 2 parts to it. I think a couple of the substitutes were ineffective. Let's start with that. Particularly, I thought Tom Cairney had a bad cameo off the bench. It just didn't feel like it suited him today. There's some games where Tom Cairney's got lovely time and space. He picks a pass. He has a wonderful time. This was not one of them.
Wolves were too scrappy for Tom Cairney today, I thought. And I love Tom Cairney a lot, but he is a bit more silky and he plays best when the game is going our way. And today it wasn't. And Wolves were masters of the dark arts today. And that's not a criticism of them. When we're winning, I want Fulham to be masters of the dark arts. But today they were really good at time wasting, breaking up the play, all of those things. And Tom Cairney, his skills don't lend to a game like that.
No, well, I don't think he likes being hassled and harried, and I don't think. Exactly. I'm not sure Tom Cairney, and look, he can play in the rain and the wind, but I just don't think it was one of those days for Tom Cairney where it really suited him. He very nearly gifted Wolves the game much earlier than it happened with a very ropey pass, which I think it was Cunha actually who got played through, and I think he should have done slightly better with the opportunity. The other reason for maybe being a bit critical of Silva's substitutions, he made the 5th sub, the golden 5th sub, in the 70th minute, and this isn't revisionism. I said to my dad, and he kind of said the same thing back to me. I was like, that feels risky, playing all 5 subs quite that early in the game. What if something happens? And lo and behold, a few minutes later, Joachim Andersen gets injured, and, well, effectively, we gave ourselves a red card in this game.
Yeah. I mean, the 5 subs thing, I think I'm a bit more sympathetic to Marco than you are on this, because we needed to change something. We needed to change something quite drastically. And every individual substitution he made, even though I don't think Tom Cairney had a good cameo appearance, every individual substitution he made sense to me.
I sometimes feel like Muniz for Jimenez in that moment. I didn't think that Raul was having like a terrible game.
I kind of agree with you, but then also I do think when we're struggling to break down the defence like that, bringing on something different is a good option. And I think that could have been Muniz. Obviously, like, famously, it wasn't today. But
yeah. And, like, look, I think, Castagna came on and I thought had an impact. Adama just is like, you can't, who can resist bring on Adama Traore when you are 1-0 down. I guess for me, that might be something that Marco might just go like, oh, well, look, I guess he took a gamble, right? Like, and in some ways, is it better that we went for broke to get back in this game and ended up losing 3 or 4-1? That can happen rather than actually just kind of like letting a 2-1 happen.
Yeah, and if Anderson doesn't go down injured, which, could have happened, and he doesn't have to go off and we don't have to play with 10 men, that could have been a very different game.
Yeah.
And we could have turned it around to a draw or even a win. I think from sort of 65, 70 minutes onwards, using up all your substitutions, I understand it's a risk, but I generally think if the game isn't going your way, it's a calculated risk worth taking on the whole. Yeah. Today, unfortunately, it was not a calculated risk worth taking.
I mean, in some ways, it is. I've actually can't remember the last time that I've seen that happen at a football match, especially since it went to 5 substitutes, where a team has basically...
Yeah, I feel like I've seen it relatively recently, maybe not this season, but
Yeah, I mean, it's escaping my memory, but it is fairly rare, right? You know,
Yeah.
for that to happen in those circumstances, and for it to be in such an injury that, like, he was obviously advised by the medics, you cannot carry on here. And some injuries, you might say, okay, just hobble about and do your best. But clearly, the medical staff thought it was that serious, and that's obviously a concern as well. Like, if that is a longer term injury, I mean, Diop will come in and he'll be fine, but we know that
he's not as good as Anderson, and we know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty bleak day.
bleak,
and that is my only, like, if I'm trying to think about this game overall, look, we lost 4-1 today, and I think fans of other teams that haven't watched this game yet will think, God, Fulham got a hiding. And I really think that it is important to bear in mind that we effectively put ourselves down. We didn't just put, and also this is worse than getting a red card in some ways, because we couldn't change anything to mitigate. We couldn't put a centre back on to mitigate this. We were playing at the end with Bassi, with Robinson and Castagna as our back three. And the Robinson and Castagna were also trying to attack to it was
get back in the game. Yeah,
we were on a hiding to nothing as soon as Anderson went off, and Wolves exploited that brilliantly. It's a lovely goal from Cunha. The fourth goal is just, well, it was about 4-on-1 basically by the time it goes to Guedes. I think it's important context. I think today is like, it's a reality check. It's a damaging defeat, but I just don't think we can read too much into this.
Yeah, I feel very similarly to this how I felt about the Villa game. That the Anderson situation, well, in both games was in my mind really unfortunate, and that is how the game changed, and we can't necessarily read into this, but I do think our performance in the second half was quite concerning.
Yeah,
I'm not saying, panic, we should be in our panic stations, but I am saying that I hope that this causes a long hard look at these players, to take a long hard look at themselves, and Marco as well.
And is there also something, I mean, it feels like more than an anomaly now, more towards a trend, that we've had 3 poor performances post-international breaks. Obviously, well, I mean, West Ham, you actually could say was a good performance and a bad result, but look, we didn't play well against Villa. We didn't play well today. It does just feel like Fulham, it's not something that we seem to do too well at, is coming back off these international breaks. A lot of our team flying in from far. I'm sure Wolves had lots of internationals too, but it just seemed to be something specific to Fulham where we just seem to be struggling a little bit in these post-international break games.
Yeah, and Wolves have been really bad this season. I know they won their last game, but today, like at the end of the game, the Wolves fans were singing, I don't know if you heard, how, I won't swear so Sammy doesn't have to mark this as explicit, but how bad must you be? We're winning a game. And I was like, yeah, like... Well,
first away win since February as well. So, like, it's, like first in about, 9 months. So I know we've been there as Fulham fans where we've been absolutely terrible away, and when that away win does finally come, it always feels extra sweet. So I can see why Wolves fans enjoyed their celebrations. But I do think when you look at that Wolves lineup, Mario Lemina basically playing centre back, we know from experience Mario Lemina is not a centre back. This is a game that I think we'll look back at similarly maybe to the Burnley match last year.
Yeah, a nearly game after a good run of form. Yeah, I agree. I think we'll look back at it like that, and I hope we're not 3 points out from anything at the end of the season.
Yes, because I think a lot of times last year we went, if only we hadn't have lost that Burnley game, because it was a game that we absolutely should have won. I think for their credit, Wolves are a lot better outfit and will be much better than Burnley did last year, but it did have that similarity. And also the weird thing was, Liz, is I feel like everyone I spoke to pre-match did have a bit of a weird feeling that something bad was going to happen today.
Yeah, Sammy spoke to me pre-match, so
yes.
I think as Fulham fans, and this isn't unique to Fulham, but it does feel it does sting right now, of that feeling of when it's going well, it can't ever go quite too well. We've had 2 amazing results. Obviously Brentford, like the magic of that night, and winning that game in those circumstances, incredible. And then Palace just wiping the floor with them away from home. 2-0, but should have been 4-0 if, Smith Rowe wasn't so hench up top and Harry Wilson's hand wasn't just right by his side in a kind of convenient position. Like those games were such excellent performances. Maybe we do have to say we're not going to win the league.
Yeah, that might be the Champions League as well out the window, but
dear.
you never know. But I still have confidence that we're going into a tough run of games now. It's Spurs, it's Brighton, it's Arsenal, it's Liverpool, and like today's result, and it's definitely the result and somewhat the performance. I don't see being a massive factor going into those games, and I think hopefully Marco will say that to the players as well. It's like I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that we go to Spurs next week and shock them. I don't necessarily think we will, but I just don't think we can get too down today. Similarly, how we probably shouldn't have got quite so giddy after the two good results that we had.
Perhaps we shouldn't have. Spurs are also like an interesting game to go into. Spurs are classic. Spurs do this even more than we have. They beat Manchester City in the cup and then lost. They've given like Ipswich and Palace their first wins of the season. And I'm like, I mean, they're gonna. What is written on the wall as we record? They're playing City right now. They're gonna win that game like 3-2, and then we're gonna win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Obviously, if we do, if we don't, please don't clip this up. But
if we do, definitely do.
Yeah, if we do, definitely do.
All right. Well, thank you for watching the quick take today. A bit of a humbling experience at the Cottage. I mean, it's about as miserable as it gets in those
cold.
In those conditions as well. Just having to listen to the Wolves fans just serenade their team for the last 20 minutes while Storm Bert just descend.
It's called Storm Bert.
It is called Storm Bert.
That's insane. That's not a name for a storm. Anyway, continue.
We do analysis of Fulham games and also Storm names on this show. Let us know what you thought of the game in the comments. If you're a Wolves fan, you want to gloat, be my guest.
Yeah, go ahead.
And Liz, have a nice rest of your weekend.
I will do. Thank you. And you too, Sammy.
Come on, you Whites.